Yeah, already. I know how cold the game can get. As long as we stick together, we can get it, homie. Don't let these haters take away from my goal. Stay focused, we gon' show them how it roll, baby. Cause right now it's about getting to the money. Get down for your time, we gotta grind, baby. The money out here, we just gotta claim it. Seize the opportunity, get out the hood and make it.
Hello, this is Lacy L Jr. of Rice Fame Group, welcoming you to Chat with HBCU Champions Season 2, Episode 1, featuring head coach David Brooks from Elizabeth City State University Women's Volleyball, who won the CIAA Volleyball Championship this year. Welcome to the show, Coach. Please tell us a bit about yourself and your coaching experience.
Thank you, and thank you for having me on. Let's see, this is my 16th year in higher education, coaching and teaching. I spent about 10 years at the high school level, and the last 5 years have been at the college level. I started as an assistant coach at Catawba College, and got to coach under two legends there, Ginger Hamrick and Patrick. And both of them had over 500 wins. And so I learned a lot there. And then I spent the last 3 years at Elizabeth City State. This was my second full season at Elizabeth City State. And we did some big things this year.
Okay. So you had some terrific mentors.
Yeah. And I've learned everything. The funny part of my story is I was never a volleyball player. I grew up a baseball player. Baseball was my sport. It's what I played all my life. And then when I got into teaching, the first job that came available was freshman volleyball. And I wanted to coach. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to give it a try. And I remember walking into the coach's office, and it was a team at Scotland High School, which had won so many straight games. And he was like, have you ever coached volleyball before? And I was just like, I'll let myself out. I'm sorry for wasting your time. And he was like, no, I want somebody that's never coached before because I want you to learn my way. And so it was David Barnes and Shelly Barnes. And they're coaching at the JUCO level now. But they taught me a lot of what I learned. And then I learned a lot under Ginger Hamrick at Catawba. And that I think that's what felt my love for the sport because I'm always a learner, and it's such a different sport than baseball. Baseball is the slow sport, the thinking man's sport, and volleyball is fast and in your face, and I love it.
Right, okay. Well, can you tell us a little more about your time there at Elizabeth City, because you still teach full time at the high school level?
Yes, sir. And so it was. That's even when I coached at Catawba, that's what I was doing. I was coaching part-time and teaching full-time. And teaching is always something that's kind of in my blood. So it's hard for me to leave that classroom. But 3 years ago, right at the beginning of COVID, Elizabeth City State came available. And so, I thought about it. I did the interview, and I still remember I got offered the job, and I thought about it for a week while we were in everybody was still under quarantine, and I called the AD up at the time, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to have to decline. It's COVID. I don't think it's the right time. And he was like, well, you at least come out here and see campus before you say no. And I remember it was mid-April, and I was just like, well, there's no school right now. Everything's virtual. So, yeah, I'll make the drive out. And he knew what he was doing, because once I got on campus of Elizabeth City, I had never really been to that side of North Carolina before. And so getting out there, seeing how beautiful campus was, getting to see how close Virginia Beach was and the Outer Banks. I left that day thinking, okay, if I can find a teaching job out here, I think I'm going to make the jump. And so I got lucky. Currituck County was hiring, made the jump out. And I remember August comes, or it wasn't even August, it was July, because I hadn't moved yet. And I get a phone call from the AD, and he's like, CIAA is going to push back the season. They're not going to have a volleyball season this year. And at first I was heartbroken, and I was just like, what's going on? Like, did I make the right move? Because my old college, they're having a season, and I could have still been coaching there. But in the end, God works in strange ways. And it was a big blessing because it gave me a year to really work with the girls that were on the program already. And it gave me a year to get recruiting. That year I said we won 0 games, but we set the foundation for the program. For the first time in school history, they got the ACVA academic award for having a GPA. They had a 3.34 GPA. So we really hit it in the classroom. And then we really hit it with recruiting. And the recruiting, I had one really great girl from Catawba College, Claire Kellum. She's two-time all-conference now, CIAA. She was tournament MVP. She decided she was going to transfer with me. So that was a blessing. And then my Charlotte ties from my high school, I was able to get a couple of high school kids that had played for me or played against me. And they were like, you know what, I'm going to take a shot. And I remember a couple of them, they would watch the film from the year before and they're like, Coach, you guys don't look like you're too good. And I was just like, I promise you I'm going to have some really good players coming in. You're going to be the center of that. And it all came together that first year. We had a really, really good first year. I think we won 27 games, highest winning percentage in school history. I think we shocked a lot of people in the CIAA. But I knew that first year we came up a little bit short. We lost in the semifinals to Fayetteville State. But it was a learning experience for our girls. It was a learning experience for me. I had never been that far in the CIAA tournament. So I told the girls, just like Patrick Mahomes, he didn't win the Super Bowl his first year. His first year, he lost to the GOAT. He lost to Tom Brady. And then that second year, he came back stronger and he learned from his mistakes. And so I really think that, we learned from our mistakes last year. We had a freshman team, we had freshmen up and down the board. And the best part about freshmen is they turned into sophomores. And so this year we came back a lot stronger and they were used to kind of the big lights.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that's terrific, and especially the way that you were able to recruit them and everything. It was a great selling point, telling recruits that, hey, we're going to be building around you. So if they're competitive, I know they would jump at that particular opportunity. So, could you tell us a bit about your team? Who were your key athletes and some of the accomplishments this year?
And I could go on for days about them. They're the stars of the show. I think our heart and soul is Claire Kellum. She's a kid that I recruited when I was at Catawba. She was going to be our star recruit coming in, I remember. And then Ginger Hamrick got let go. And I remember Claire called me and she told me, you know what, I think I'm going to open my commitment back up. And I was heartbroken. I was like, this kid was going to be the best kid this school's ever seen. And I followed that kid around for 4 months. And everywhere she went, there I was recruiting her. And finally, Ginger told her, like, look, if Coach David's there, even if he's there as the assistant, like, you're going to be good. And trust in Coach David. And so she decided to recommit and had a great freshman year for us at Catawba. And then I ended up leaving her sophomore year. And it was right after her sophomore year, her name showed up in the transfer portal. And I looked at it a little funny and I was just like, I'm gonna go ahead and give it a shot. And I called her up and we had a great conversation and she was sold. And it worked out well just because her brother was actually an ECSU alum. And he played baseball at the school many years past. And so parents already knew the school. She already kind of knew the school. She liked that it was a little closer to home. And she came in and hit the ground running. She came in and she was all conference last year. She was all conference this year. She was the tournament MVP this year. And she's a special kid because she's a setter for us and a hitter. She can kind of do it all. She's our Swiss Army knife. And when the game's on the line, she's the one. Even in the championship game, she had the last 2 points, or the last point of the first set and the last point of the second set. And both sets, we only won by 2 points. So she's the one. Game on the line, you're giving her. She's our Steph Curry. We've also been blessed. We've had the last two CIAA Rookies of the Year. So we're kind of set up this year where I feel like I have to win it again now because we won it the last 2 years. But we had a kid, Jada Rouse, came to us from Charlotte, undersized kid, been smaller her whole life, but she played at the club that I used to coach for, Carolina Juniors. And so I remember when I was the 18s coach there, she was a 17s, and I remember playing against her, and I was like, I really want this kid on my team next year, so I'm gonna go at her and see if she'll break. And I went at her every day in practice, and that kid never broke. And so she was actually the very, very first commit I ever got. I'll never forget because I called her up. And again, the whole fall, I worked her. And then she called. And when she committed, I knew, okay, we're going to be special. Now that we have her. And that was, okay, I got Jada coming. Who can I get next? And so we kept building. This past year, we kind of fell into one with our CIAA Rookie of the Year and Clark Blakemore. She's a kid out of Tennessee. She played at K2, which is a bigger club, really nationally known club. But she was like the 14th person on the top team. And so she didn't get a lot of playing time on the court. But I saw some video of her and I was like, this kid looks really legit. She looks like she's the real deal. And so I watched her in warm-ups a few times and I was like, okay, like I'm gonna take a shot. Like I can't see it in a game because she's not playing because she was behind two kids that went big time D1. I was like, but this kid can play. I really think she can. And she came and she lit it up from the start. She was an amazing player for us. I can't believe she's a freshman. She led the whole conference in blocks, which you don't see as a freshman. And she's a kid that both of our setters knew if the game's on the line, I'm giving the ball to Clark because she just has ice through her veins. And so I think those three are kind of the pillars of our program. We also had a girl, Naja Leggett, who won the Libero of the Year for the conference this year. And she's funny because her parents, we recruited her. We got on her late, really late in the process. I don't even know how. I don't know how she was available so late. And I do because she was questioning whether she wanted to play in college or not. And so she had turned down some offers. We came in really late, got her about May, which is really late for a volleyball person. But she came in her freshman year, started as a libero her freshman year and killed it. And I think she had a chance to win it her freshman year, but she got COVID at the end of the year. So that kind of hurt her a little bit. But this past year, she was our leader back there and she won Libero of the Year. And her parents came up to me after the season and were like, you told us. I remember you said when we were in Columbus at Nationals, you said she's going to win Libero of the Year and you're going to win the conference. Like you promised us those two things. And I was like, I really promised those two things. Well, like that's some big promises I made. And I was like, I really thought she'd do it. I just didn't think she'd do it by her sophomore year. And so, but all of four of those, you know, the awards that they won is based more on their work ethic. You know, they're in that gym working hard and wanting to be the best they could be.
Okay. Wow, that's tremendous. That is tremendous. Well, can you tell us a bit about your conference and competition? Because we know that Shaw and Fayetteville State have been the primary powers, and Elizabeth City now showing up and claiming the championship. I'm pretty sure it makes the conference a bit more stronger.
Yeah, so our conference is split, and they're redoing it this year, but it was split north and south. And the Virginia State coach and the Shaw coach both joked the power used to be in the south because Shaw was down south and Fayetteville was down south, and Virginia State would have a nice easy road every year. Well, and then they redid it and they moved Shaw up north, and then all of a sudden, boom, we pop up, and now all of a sudden the north is the powerhouse. But I believe that's actually what helped us last year is that, you know, us, Shaw, and Virginia State battled it out. And when they're in your division, you play them twice a year. When they're cross division, you only play them once. And so Fayetteville, who's the other powerhouse, they only get to play all of us once, where we all get to play each other twice. And I think, you know, that's the whole iron sharpens iron. But when I came into the conference, I looked and I saw Shaw and Fayetteville and Virginia State, and that's who I kind of modeled my program after. And you know, when we were able to knock off Fayetteville State this year, I told Rasheem, I said, look, I modeled my program after you. I said, I know this hurts. We beat him in 5. It was a back and forth battle. I said, I know that's not what you want to hear right now, but you know, I wouldn't be where I am without, you know, your program coming first. And so she appreciated that. But you know, I always knew volleyball wise, HBCU wise, CIAA, it's the most athletic conference. We played some HBCUs when I was at Catawba, and I'm looking at these kids and I'm just like, they are way more athletic than any kid on our team. They can jump out of the gym, but some of that athleticism just wasn't coached as much. And there wasn't the ball control in the back row that we had at our schools. And so the first thing I did when I came into the school was, you know, we spent that money and went and got Naja Leggett, the libero of the year. We went and got Claire Kellum, who one of the top setters. And so that kind of put us right up at the top of the conference. You know, last year we fell short to Fayetteville in the semis, and we sat and watched Fayetteville and Shaw play. And, you know, I remember all spring, that next spring, I wrote the scores. It was, and I can't remember the score right now, but I wrote the score right on the top of our schedule. And I told the girls, you know what that is? And they're like, that's the score we lost by our last game. And they wouldn't forget it. And so they came in this year And we knew kind of coming into the year we were going to have a target on our back. Last year, everybody was surprised. It was Elizabeth City State's just average, like, and no, wait, who's this? Who are these girls? Where'd you find these girls? And even the old coach, she's coaching at Chowan now, Vanessa. We played her, and she was just like, how did you get these kids to come to Elizabeth City State? And my recruiting philosophy is I'm going to shoot for the stars. I'm gonna hear some no's, but I'm going to hear some no's because these kids are going D1 or they're going big time. But you gotta hear the no's to get the yeses. I'm not just gonna play it safe and go for the small town kid. We're going for the big kids. So this year we came in and we were picked second preseason, and we were picked to win the North. And I remember seeing that and being like, oh, I don't know if I don't want all of that. Now that it's not the surprise. And very first game of the year, we played Virginia Union at home, and they went 5 sets. They gave us everything they could handle, and we won. But I told the girls, that's what it's going to be. Like, you and Favo, the 2 top dogs now, everybody wants their shot at you. But the girls, they were ready. We started the season off, I think, 13-0. We had an amazing start to our conference season. The match of the season, I think, was Shaw at home. We were both 10-0 going into it. They won the first 2 sets. They actually bust in a bunch of their basketball players because they knew how our gym is. Our gym, and I will give it to our basketball players, our football players. We got the best gym in the CIAA. It is just like to see. I wouldn't want to play against us just because they're right on the court. They're yelling at you. And so we got down 0-2, but I kept telling the girls, like, hey, we're a different team than last year. Come on, let's do this. And we won the last 3 in a row. And I think right then, that's when the girls realized, okay, we can do this. Because we had beaten Fayetteville already. And so at that point, we beat everybody in the conference. We can do this. But we went to Shaw. It's game 14. We went to Shaw, and they humbled us. They beat us 3-0 at their place. And their place is tiny little gym, and they packed that as well. And so I knew, I said, hey, it's 1-1 now. I'll see you in the finals. And we joked about it, and it just happened to set up that way. I think what really helped us this year is the setup of the conference tournament, where they got the 1 seed because of a tiebreaker. And so they got the easier road, and they won both of their matches in 3 coming up to the finals. We had a little harder road. We had to play St. Aug the first game, and they were a team that got a couple kids eligible halfway through the year. And so they were a lot better than their record. And so we ended up going 5 with them in our gym. And I think that got us battle tested. Then we played Fayetteville. And Fayetteville, when you're playing the 2-time defending champs, like I told the girls, they're the champs until you beat them. I don't care what their record is. I don't care that you beat them during a regular season. They are the champs. And we were up 24-21 4th set, ready to put them away. And they scored 5 straight points and beat us 26-24. And I was like, ladies, like, you've watched the horror movies before. How many times did they have to kill the killer? You can't just stab them once. You got to stab them and stab them and stab them. And I'll say our girls bounced back, because it would have been easy. You're 1 point away from winning it, and all of a sudden they grab it, and it's, oh gosh, now we got to win 15 more points. But they weren't going to let it happen. They were battle tested all year. That 5-setter the game before got them ready, and they won that one in 5. And so we got to the finals, and it was, hey, we're definitely the more tired team, but we're running on adrenaline right now, and we've just won 2 5-set matches in a row, and we're ready to go. And I still remember we won that game, and one of my girls was like, do we have to come to practice tomorrow morning? Because when you're at the CIAA Championship, they have little practice times for you. And I said, absolutely. I said, we don't have to. We get to go to practice tomorrow. We didn't get to practice on championship day last year. And we got there, and Shaw didn't take their practice. And I was just like, okay, like, there's a little bulletin board material, ladies. Like, they don't think they need to practice today. And so it was definitely got our girls motivated. And we got there for the championship, and I don't know if there's a way for us to lose that night. The girls, my coaching styles, I stay flat. I was nice and calm for them, but they took it and went with it. And it was a battle. I mean, it was 23-23 first set. It was 24-24 second set. But when the plays were to be made, we made them. And then by the time they came back in the third set, which I knew they would, even when we were up 2-0, I told the girls, hey, we were up 2-0 at our place, or they were, and we came all the way back. Don't give up. And third set, they kind of found their groove, and they had a bunch of seniors. But the 4th set, we got up, I think, 5 or 6-1, and you could see the seniors on their team freak out, because they've been now, I think, to 7 straight championship games. They are a dynasty. but they haven't won it in 4 years. And so none of the girls there have won it. And so I knew we got up 6-1, and you start to see the seniors start to freak, like, oh my God, we're about to lose it again. And so our girls kind of just pounced on it. And the rest, I guess, is history. It was definitely exciting. I wasn't sure what was going to happen, but it happened. And then we set our goals higher. I told the girls from the start, my goal at Elizabeth City was never to win the CIAA. That's a great goal. That's one of the goals. That wasn't my major goal. My major goal, when I first got there, I looked at and I said, what happens when these teams win and go to the NCAA tournament? And only one team has ever won a game from the CIAA in the NCAA tournament. And it was St. Aug back in, I think, 03 or 04. And so I was like, I want to be the second team to ever win a game in the NCAA tournament. And the coach that was coaching it back then, Edric, he's now the coach at Boise State, Edric Portier. And so I said, like, I want to join your club, man. I'm trying to join your club of one. And he looked right at my girls, and he was there cheering for us when we played Fayetteville. He's like, you have the team to do it. I promise you do. And so we got the 8th seed, which was kind of disappointing after the year we had. But we went up to Gannon up in New York, and we gave them hell for 3 sets. It was 23-22 in the first set. And I remember after the game, the coach came up to me and he was just like, man, he's like, you had a heck of a game plan, and you guys came to play. And I just said, hey, like, just remember, every single one of these girls that you just played against is coming back next year. Like, just don't give us the 8th seed. Give us the 7th seed. Give us the 6th seed. Just give us a shot so we don't have to go play the top team in the whole region. And let's see what we can do.
Right. Yeah, that seems to be the mantra for HBCUs is that they always get the last seed, have to play the top seed, every time, no matter what kind of season they had, no matter who they played within their volleyball region. That at some point that will need to be addressed with the NCAA, about fairness, because like, okay, some of these other teams, the 6th and 7th seed team, who did they play? What was their record? And so like I said, I definitely understand. I definitely understand. So,
And I'll say that Rashima at Fayetteville, she's done it the last couple of years, and she told me, like, you're gonna get the 8th seed. It's just what happens. But she's like, if you keep doing what you're doing, and Shaw keeps doing what they're doing, because Shaw actually got regional ranked. The last ranking of the year, they were ranked 10th, so they were close. And so the 3 of us have kind of gotten together, and we want to break that. And so we said, we're all going to go schedule as hard as we can outside of conference. And so next year, this first tournament next year, we're going to Fairmont State. And so we're going to play. They were the number 4 seed in the NCAA tournament last year. And we're going to play Anderson, who made it to their region in the NCAA tournament. And so we're going to try and see, can we get our strength of schedule high enough, in the preseason that, come postseason, you guys remember us and you don't give us that. And we know it's not just volleyball. Shout out to our women's basketball team. They just won the CIAA tournament last month, and same thing. They got the 8th seed, and they went up there and they got to play Glenville State, national champion from last year. And it's just, it's hard, but the glass ceiling will be broken eventually. I hope we're the ones that break it, and that's the goal. The goal CIAA Championship is great. Probably the best coaching moment of my life. Just to see the girls' joy, just to see how happy they were. And everybody said afterwards, you came in here, you won CIAA Coach of the Year twice already, your first 2 years, you just won the conference. Like, somebody's going to come off for you. Like, there's no way. Even the libero's parent, Naj's dad, was just like, I was like, I can't wait till all these girls come back next year. And he's like, well, are you coming back next year? Because I know you're going to get some offers. And I would be lying if I said I did not get some offers in my inbox. But the bond that I have with those girls winning that championship, like, that moment, I can't explain what it means to me as a coach. And I was like, the chance to go do that again, my whole life I've been building. Even when I coached high school, I built. Then we got to Catawba and I built. Finally, eventually, you don't want to build anymore. You want to sit back and say, look, this is what I built. Let's see what we got. And so our goal, next year is, I got some big time girls. We had a girl that turned down a Division I scholarship to come play for us, and so our goal is to get to the NCAA and have a chance to make some noise in the NCAA's next year.
Okay. Okay. Well, hopefully that will happen. Hopefully, the CIAA might even get some buys. Let's hope that happens also. So, what honors did you receive this year?
We had the Libero of the Year in Naja Leggett. We had the CIAA Rookie of the Year in Clark Blakemore. So that was 2 years in a row we won that. We had 4 first team all conference kids, Claire, Jada, Clark, and Naja. We had 2 more second team all conference kids, Kaylee Sullivan, who she's a great transfer story. She transferred from South Carolina State, kid that did Division I program, great program, close to home. She went 0-26 last year. 0-26, and then came, and now you won the championship. And I said, that's every transfer's dream, to go from the bottom to the top in 1 year. She got second team all conference. And Victoria White, one of our big hitters on the outside, she got second team all conference, another transfer. And that's kind of what fueled us this year. Last year we brought in all the freshmen and we had a ton of all freshman kids. This year, I didn't want to bring in more freshmen because, you have to go through those little freshman pains at the beginning. And so we really focused on transfers, and we got 4 transfers, 3 D1 transfers and a D2 transfer. And all 4 of them had the same kind of story where they went to school. Either it wasn't the coach that recruited them there, or the coach was just different once they got there. And volleyball wasn't fun anymore. And they didn't enjoy their team. And they were thinking about quitting. And I just told them, give it one more shot. I can't promise you it'll be it's going to be, I can promise you it'll be different than what you're getting right now. I can promise you you're going to come here. We have a competitive gym. We have a very competitive gym, but we have fun because at the end of the day, you guys, what better way? And I explained this to one of my girls the other day. You're getting part of your college paid for a game that you have fun, you get to play, and it goes fast. I always tell them when I recruit them, volleyball's the next 4 years, your career's your next 40. So my job is to set you up for the next 40. But while we do that, I'm going to try to win some games in these next 4. But and then we had 2 all rookie kids, Clark and Macy. And every single one of those kids comes back next year. So I know we're going to have another target on our back next year, but we're ready for it. The girls this spring has been fun. The last couple springs, in the spring season, you lose all your seniors. And so you usually have 3/4 of a team and you can't really do too much with them. We have 15 girls on that gym every day. And so, I'm looking at it like, man, like you guys are competing and we have some great kids coming in. We have 2 transfers coming in and 1 freshman. And, I said, they're at a disadvantage because you guys every day this spring, you're getting to put in work and you're really, getting to kind of, I know, and I told the girls this, we're champs. We are champs. You guys earned every bit of that, but we won by 5 sets, and 4 sets. So the gap's not here. The gap is here. We barely won it last year. Can we make that gap here? Can we make that gap here? Can we make that gap here? And that's what they've been doing this spring, working hard in the gym. Elizabeth City State, we finally have a strength coach. We got an awesome strength coach in there. He's been working with the girls, and that's really, really helped kind of push us hopefully to the next level.
Okay. All right. Well, that transitions right into question. What do you look for in prospects?
That's a good question. I like athletes. You can't coach athleticism. I can make you a better volleyball player. I can make you mentally stronger, but I can't make you jump that much higher. Whatever you got from your parents. And so, but I say when I go look at kids, I want the little things. I want the thing that I think we did best when we recruited this past year and the past 2 years is we really look at the culture. And for the COVID year, a lot of it was done virtually. But last year we were able to get back in the gym. But I don't care how good of a player is. I bring them into the gym. I introduce them to all the players. I let them kind of spend a day with the players, and then I come back with my players. And before I do anything with that recruit, okay, what do you think? Will she get along with our culture? Does she fit in with our culture? Will she add something to this team? And we've had girls that were really good volleyball players that they're like, she's not going to fit coach. And as a coach, I respect that they say that, because they see, everybody's going to show their best face. When they're talking to me, I want to see what's going on behind closed doors. And so we look for that. And a big thing, and I'm at a club tournament right now recruiting. That's why you see a hotel room in the background. But everybody wants to look at, the big hits and ooh and ah. By the time I've come to your court, if I'm recruiting you, I've already seen your best hits. You've sent that to me in an email. What I want to see when I get to the court is, how do you fail? Because we're all about failing. I want you to fail faster, because that's how we learn. We learn when we fail. And so, after you make a mistake, are you like, hey, set me again, I want the next ball? Or are you, like throwing a pity party for yourself? And we also want to look at, like, how are you treating your teammates? How during a timeout, are you listening to coach talk, or are you worried about telling your mom you need more water? And then the last thing we always look at is, after, when the game is done, how do you go up to your parents? I've had girls that just come up and just throw their book bags on their parents and walk away. And I'm just like, if that's how you treat your parents, that's how you're going to treat your coaches and your players. So yeah, we're good with that. We want somebody that's going to be respectful to their parents and all that. So it's kind of the full athlete. And then the other big thing, being at the Division II level, we're able to stack scholarships. And me having 16 years in the classroom of being a high school teacher, education is important. I tell the girls, like, if you don't have the grades, there's nothing I can do to help you. I got to make sure you come in here with good grades and you leave with good grades. Your high school GPA, I tell them that'll get you to college, but your college GPA is what's going to be on your resume for the rest of your life. And so let's go and put that on there. And Elizabeth City State, I'll say the resurgence that we had has a lot to do with the new program that they have. They have something called the NC Promise. And so in-state tuition for North Carolina kids is $1,000 for the whole year. And out-of-state tuition is $5,000. And so it's the cheap. And now Fayetteville State has the same thing, and UNC Pembroke has the same thing. So we're not the only school, but we're one of 3 schools in the whole state that can do that. And so when I can tell a kid, hey, look, all in, you're paying $17,000 per year. That's before I can give you an athletic scholarship. And then if you can come in with some academic money on top of that, you're going to be walking out of here with little to no debt. And that's been the kind of the difference maker for the school. The school was going to shut down a few years back, and it's been a total resurgence under our chancellor. And our chancellor has been really, she's been a great supporter of athletics. She's at the basketball games, she's at the volleyball games. She was the first one to call me last year, after we won, and she wanted to make sure, hey, I want to make sure you don't leave. So what can we do? Can I boost your recruiting budget? And she's been a great person there. But to me, the academics has to come first, because again, volleyball is nice, and I'm so glad that all 17 of the girls from last year, they get to leave with a ring. That's something that they can look at for the rest of their lives and know, hey, I did that. I said, but if that's the best thing that you did in college, we got an issue. We got to make sure that you're getting prepared for the real world, and that when you leave here, you have that degree that's going to help take you to wherever you want to go.
Okay. Well, tell us a bit more about Elizabeth City State University. What are some of the top majors there, and what majors do your athletes tend to take?
The big kind of, they're the only North Carolina school that has and I think they're the only HBCU that has a aviation program. And they've done a lot of partnerships. They just partnered with Delta. So they're really pushing that. I have one of the girls that she is in unmanned aircraft. So she's majoring in drones and all that stuff that I can't even explain. But she loves it. But that is kind of what I know the school is pushing. We have a lot of girls. A lot of our girls are science. We have a good amount of science majors. One of our girls that just graduated, she graduated bio pre-med. She's going to go to dental school after. We do have a lot of the more popular major, I think, these days is a lot of the athletes want to be either athletic trainers or something with that. So kinesiology is big for us. And then we also have sports management, which is kind of big for us. Girls that want to be ADs, or they know they want to go into sports when they're done. The school itself, again, the NC Promise is a difference maker, because that makes school affordable. It's a school that the location is perfect, and that's a small college town is what you want from that, but it's less than an hour from Virginia Beach. less than an hour to get out to the Outer Banks. And so you have everything you need right there. And so we have girls and when I got there, it was a lot of North Carolina girls or Virginia girls. And now we have girls from all over. We have girls from Texas. We have a girl from Kansas City, Ohio, New York. We're adding a girl, hopefully from Florida this year. And so we've really kind of made it a nationwide thing. And a lot of that also comes with the winning. The recruiting this year has been easier because a lot of people, I know you won the CIAA, so I wanted to email you. But I was like, okay, well, what do you know about the school? I like it because the class sizes are small. The school is like 2,100 students this year, which is the highest they've ever had, which is awesome. The school is growing. The state of North Carolina has put a lot of money back into it, and so we're adding some new dorms on campus, and I hope it continues to grow. But the class sizes are small, and so I don't have to worry about my athletes getting lost. I don't have to worry about them becoming just a number. If I have an athlete that doesn't go to class or is missing an assignment, I'm one of the first ones to know about it, and I love that. They don't always love that because they're just like, wait a second, how do you know I didn't go to class this morning? Oh, I know, but it's because their teachers care, and they want to make sure they're getting that experience. And I guess that speaks to me because that's what I went to a small school, and so I didn't want to be in a lecture hall with 50 other kids. I wanted to be with a teacher that knew my name and knew, if I knew what was going to happen. And so I really appreciate that about the school. And I love that it's an HBCU. I'd say my 13 before where I'm at currently at Currituck, my 13 years prior, all the schools that I've taught at had been in schools that were mostly minority. And I really enjoy just that atmosphere. I really enjoy that culture. I think some of the underprivileged kids, I think they appreciate stuff a lot more. And so when a chance to coach at an HBCU came up, I jumped on it, and I wouldn't trade it for the world because just that atmosphere there, the athletics supporting other athletics, the football team is at our games. We're at the football team games. Basketball is there. The girls, after they won, they became celebrities on campus. Everybody knew exactly who they were. You're a volleyball player, and they like that. But it's a big enough school where you get to kind of spread your wings, but it's small enough that you know everybody on campus. And whenever I'm walking across campus, everybody's, oh, there's coach. And I love it. I wouldn't trade it for the world. And so it's something to be said about HBCUs. Definitely, I love it.
Okay. Well, that actually brings me into my next question. You had actually mentioned the support that you received from the president of the institution, and then now you are campus darling, so to say. What other type of support are you getting from like your department and from the overall fan base?
And so I think it starts at the top. And again, the chancellor, she was the first one last year that she knew right away, hey, I want to make sure you're not going to leave. And so, we're going to make sure that you get a little extra recruiting budget. And then when we got a new AD this year, he came in and he looked at the programs and he was just like, okay, you performed last year. What do you need to win? He said, tell me what you need to win and let's work together to get it. And he was great. And that came with a little more recruiting budget. That came with, getting them some little things, a little extra gear for them. When we travel, hey, can we go up the night early instead of having to travel the day of and being in that bus for 6 hours? Can we go the night early? He was really first class about what does it take to win, and let's get you there. Fan base wise, the school, again, I think it's huge that the teams support the teams. The basketball girls they're always the first ones out, first ones bottom row, and they're asking, hey, when's your next game? When's your next game? When's your next game? And I'm glad we could do the same thing for them on their road to the championship. But I like that our conference has games on Mondays and Thursdays. And at my old conference that I was in, they would have it Fridays and Saturdays, which is good for travel, but it's not great for fans. Friday night on college campus, volleyball game may not be where anybody wants to go. But on a Monday and a Thursday night, there's nothing else to do. And so we really pack our gym. They really make sure it's a first class experience. And it's the same when we go to other schools. All the gyms in the CIAA have packed campuses. Some of the freshmen, they had to learn that, just eyes forward. Don't listen to what the crowd says. And the one thing you always do to make people be quiet in the crowd is play. You play and you keep the scoreboard up, they're not going to say a word to you. but the sport has really grown. And I think this year it grown even more. After our season, the AD has made a push to make the job a full-time job. And so that's exciting for me because as great as we've been, I think we can get even greater. It's hard to be a coach that is there, in the gym with them and then has to leave and go to school. And if something happens during the day, I'm in my classroom and they're on campus and there's a disconnect. I'm that guy that I always want my door open. Something happens, come on in. We had set up last year with study hall that they knew, hey, my door is always open. We have a study hall on campus, but if you need a little quieter place, come on in. And so we have 4 or 5 of them in there every day, working on it. And some of it worked good because I know one girl was in there just because it was math, and she knows, oh, math teacher, I'm going to his class. But it's just going to be getting that extra time on campus and really, being there for them to support them as a full athlete, not just support them in the gym. So with that, I think the sky's the limit with kind of where we're going to go these next couple of years.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see how the payoff comes. And so, can you tell us more about the biggest influences in your career?
I think the biggest influence in my entire life was a baseball coach I had. He was a gym teacher and a baseball coach. Had grown up. His name is Phil Harden, and he was a guy. He taught me a lot of lessons in sports, which is my goal. Sports prepares you for the real world. There's a lot of things that you can learn through sports. But he just gave back. I remember on Fridays he built a baseball field outside his house, and he would invite over all kids, whether they were high school, whether they were in college, whether they're 7 years old, and he'd be out there just throwing them batting practice. And it just kind of taught me growing up, hey, when you get to high school and college, give back to the younger kids. And I think he was the greatest coach I ever had. And so that, looking back, I was like, that's the coach I want to be. The way I got into coaching, I never thought I would be. I always knew I liked sports. I think I had a job when I was in high school as a ski instructor. And I think that really piqued my interest. I was like, I really like coaching a kid, teaching a kid how to ski. And so I kind of just fell into that. And that's when I decided, because I went to school to be an accountant. And it was maybe 6 weeks before I graduated that I was just like, I do not want to be an accountant. Like I can make good money doing that, but that's not me. I can't sit behind a desk all day. I need something that when I'm 70 years old and I'm retired, I can look back and say I made a difference in somebody's life, just like Coach Harden did for me. And so that brought me into teaching, and then teaching brought me into coaching. And the coaching aspect definitely became my biggest passion, because I think it can bring you so many places. It can teach you so many different lessons. And the big lesson I always tell my girls, especially when we went up to Gannon and we lost in the first round of the NCAA tournament, we played our butts off. I said, did you leave it all on that court? And they said, yes, sir. And I said, then we walk out of here heads up high. Like in life's tough, and sometimes it's going to knock you down. But if you gave everything you got, there's nothing to be sad about. And that's something that my coaches taught me when I was younger. And so that's kind of how I got there. Volleyball, I don't know if I ever thought I'd be a volleyball coach. Volleyball, I coached volleyball, track, softball, girls basketball, you name it, I've coached it. And everybody's like, well, how are you? You're a college volleyball coach, and you have 3 state championships in track, and your softball team was really good. And it's like, well, no, because you don't coach a sport, you coach people. And I think that's where our big success is. Because what I learned from being in the classroom is, they don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And so with my athletes, just like with my students, I really build that relationship with them, and what is it going to, how are we going to make you a better player on the court, but how are we going to make you better off the court? How are we going to, what's going on with your family life? How's this going? We have 2 girls right now that are also playing softball. So every chance I get, I'm going to go support them on the softball field. What other interests do you have? We have girls. The great thing about D2 is they can play a sport and be in a sorority, or they can play a sport and be in a club. And so it's about supporting them, kind of showing them that, hey, I don't just care for you for what you can do on the court. That's great. You can hit a volleyball, but I really want that lifelong relationship. And that's the key thing for me. Wins and losses are great. That goes down on paper. I always said, it's a win for me if when you get married 10 years from now, I get an invite to your wedding. That shows me that I wasn't just a coach for 4 years. I was somebody that you really entrusted. And with a lot of our girls, they're coming from 7, 8, 9 hours away. It's their first time away from home. You need that. They need to know that they have a family away from their family. And that's a big responsibility. And it's a big responsibility I take for every recruit coming in. Like, whether your daughter gets in trouble outside of volleyball or inside of volleyball, I'm the one that brought her here. So I'm going to make sure they're doing what they're supposed to be doing all the time.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you, Coach, for those answers. That was terrific. This is now your time in the interview to give shout outs to anyone who you want to recognize.
There's so many people. Obviously, the Chancellor Dixon of ECSU, AD DeBose, Deputy Gray, AD Jacob. They've been supporting me from the start. And he's not there anymore, but AD Bright was the one that gave me the shot. And that's, that meant a lot. There was, I would be lying if I said that ECSU was the first school that I applied to. I applied to many schools, and there's, I think 4 or 5 schools in the CIAA that I applied to that never got a call back. And so I have a little revenge train that we had going there for a little bit. And the funny part is that AD DeBose and Deputy AD, they both came from Winston-Salem State. And they were at Winston-Salem, and they were like, we came across your application. We definitely remember you. And while they were there, the Shaw AD was there as well. And so when we beat Shaw this year, he was like, you know who you just lost to. It's the guy that we didn't hire at Winston-Salem. And all of them were just like, well, we knew somehow. But that's, I think I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. Elizabeth City, I would say Elizabeth City found me. I didn't find Elizabeth City. And so, while there were calls to go bigger and go better, and a D1 school called, and everybody was just like, oh my God, he's gone. But it's just like, no, I have a lot of girls, because the biggest shout out I would say would be to the girls, to my 17 players. Every girl that I offered had other offers. And some of them had offers much bigger than mine. Most of them had more scholarship money coming from the other schools than I did. And they chose me. And so I don't take that lightly. And I think if the first chance I got to choose something else, I would look like a hypocrite. I want all my girls to know, like, hey, I know you commit to a school, not a coach, but I'm going to be here a while. And so we're going to build this thing together, and you don't got to worry about that. And so the biggest shout out goes to them, because they were the ones that, took a chance. Because when I got there and they were 7 or 9 and 17, you had to believe. You had to. Everybody thinks they're going to turn it around, but even in my craziest dreams, I didn't know if it would happen this soon. I didn't think 2 years down the road we'd have it. But a lot of that goes to them.
Right. Well, thank you, Coach Brooks, for participating in this chat. We hope that you and your program continue to succeed, and we will follow your development. And I do want to thank you, viewers, for watching this episode of Chat with HBCU Champions. Please visit ricefamegroup.org for more information on our replays and on HBCU information. Please have a blessed week.
Thank you. I can cry.
Now I'm talking about young shakes. 502 representatives. Just James. And this is for my city.
Hey, I do it for my city. Dog, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gon' first round. For my city. Dog, I ain't never been a jumpin'. If he thinking I'm a jump, watch him get his head up. For my city. Dog, I don't plan on going down. If he think I'm going down, then he gon' first round. For my city. Dog, I ain't never been a jumpin'. If he thinking I'm a jump, watch him get his head up. For my city. Cause I feel like I love her so much, like I owe her so much, but supplying her touch, I will always respect her, I will never neglect her. That you hear her name in like every one of my records. No